What's going on? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Uh, Mickey Ficky. I'll pick up that phone call later. But what's going on? This is Kojo, or Dr. Kojo, however you call me, checking in from sunny Los Angeles, California, and we have a very important topic today. We're gonna talk about 5 things that every woman needs to hear for her mental health. And after that, this is a double header actually. After that, we're gonna do another show where we talk about 5 things that every man needs to hear for his mental health. So I'm so excited to talk about this topic and to get into it. But let's start off with the way that we normally start off. Go ahead and let me know what your name is and where you're checking in from. Yeah, Kendra, double header. Well, actually, triple header because we have another show coming up after this. So something was something dropped off on my schedule, and I had a little bit of time to be on live. So I'm like, ooh, let me hop on live quick. You're so busy. We are busy today. Kylie from Australia, what's up? We got Calvin. What's going on? How you doing? Charlotte from didn't say Nick. Appreciate you, my guy. Amanda from New Jersey. We got Grace from Montana. Jasmine from Alaska. Kristen from Calgary. Alicia from Texas. Will from Pennsylvania. Laisha, hey, I appreciate you. This is gonna be fun too. Amber from Edmonton. Nicole in Baltimore. Callie in Arkansas. Leilani, what's going on? Shout out to my moderators, Leilani and Kendra. And we're going to be starting a Discord soon. I'll figure all that stuff. But we're going to find ways to consolidate this community so people can like reach out to other people. London and Buffalo, New York in house. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so let's talk about it. 5 things that every Kylie, I appreciate that. Appreciate that. 5 things that every woman needs to hear for her mental health. And I sectioned this off for women and for men. We all need to hear certain things, but I've made a couple of observations during my time on social media, and I think it's important to talk about this. So now that the time opened up, I'm like, let's go ahead and throw in a bonus show and get things going. So here's my list. The number one, well, this is not in order, y'all. This is not in order, but this is just 5 things that every woman needs to hear for her mental health. So this is number 1, but it's not the most important, but it's number 1. All right. So EA Discord, yeah. So I'm hearing a lot of cool things about Discord. I don't fully understand how it works, but we're gonna figure out how to build a community around there so you all can check in with each other. You might be in, Texas or Indiana, or you might be in Saskatchewan, right? But you should be able to connect with people on the internet, right? And that's gonna be the goal of the Discord. So the first thing that I want every woman to hear for her mental health is you don't have to change to be accepted. This is so important because when you look on TV and you look on social media, we are overstimulated. There's so many things that are hitting us and we don't know what to focus on and how to gain attention from people or how we should look like, right? But you don't have to change to be accepted. Now, if you're a woman and you're watching this and you're telling yourself, I would love to drop 7 pounds. Go ahead and drop 7 pounds. There's nothing wrong with losing weight. There's nothing wrong with getting your hair done. Nothing wrong with even surgery. If you want to go get like a BBL, or there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with something that you want to do for yourself, but you don't have to change to be accepted, right? You can have 2 women and both of them can get a nose job, right? And if woman A gets the nose job for herself, that's what she wanted. That's fine. Now, woman B, if she gets a nose job to impress somebody or to make somebody else, happy, then you're doing the same thing, but one person is doing it for reasons that, I would rather you do it for yourself, right? So you don't have to change to be accepted. Certain people, yes, we talk about masking on here a lot, right? Masking people who have ADHD or people who are neurodivergent, autism, whatever the case may be. When you have to mask yourself to be accepted by other people, it's exhausting. And before you know it, you're going to get burnt out, right? Because people are only accepting you because you're putting out a certain version of yourself, right? But keep in mind, you have to mask to survive. But now the focus has changed. We're not trying to survive anymore. We're trying to figure out how to thrive. We don't want to just get by in life and be like, oh, what's the minimum I can do to get by? No, we want to actually thrive, right? So the goal and the focus should be on thriving. So we don't have to change who we are to be accepted. Amanda's saying, this is the first time I'm attending your live. I got the notification for it. I'm excited. Amanda, well, I'm going to go ahead and give you the love of the show, the first love of the show. This is where I just acknowledge something that I see that I like. So I'll give you the first. Love of the show. Let me read some comments here. Elaine, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. I'll get the Discord details for you all. Trust me, like I'll have it pinned on here. I'll figure it out. I will get it ready for you all. Yeah, teenager said this. No, it was a teenager who set up the Discord for me. My brother's friend. So I'm getting old now. That it's taking a while for me to learn how this stuff works. Discord communities are dope. This all right. So look, everybody's enjoying the Discord. So we will get that set up. Yeah, we will get that set up as soon as possible. Hey, Christina, we're gonna do the one for men right after this. Right after this. All right. So the second thing that I want women to know for their mental health, very important. This is very important, right? Extremely important. Not everything on social media is for you, and that's okay. All right. Not everything on social media for you, and that's okay. And sometimes I'll be debating and talking with my friends, and I'll try and figure out who has it worse. Do men have it worse on social media, or do women have it worse? And to be honest, it's hard for both of us because we take our phones, right? You're sitting at home, and you'll take your phone, and you'll go on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and you're seeing people who are perfect, right? And my heart goes out, to the women who log on to Instagram, and then you see women who are, extremely fit, women who are like abs, like no, maybe 8% body fat, and you're telling yourself, wow, like how can I keep up with this, right? So not everything on social media is for you, and that's okay. Social media, I believe that we should use it to get what we want out. Like use social media to like laugh or like for inspiration or to learn, but not everything on social media is for you, and that's okay. So if you have to get to the point where you're blocking certain people, or you can restrict certain pages, or you can mute certain things, I'm a fan of doing that. If you have to mute a certain person who might not be a bad person, but every time you watch their profile, it makes you want to, count calories and stop eating. Yeah, I would rather you just mute that page, because if you, the longer you watch that type of stuff, and I live in Los Angeles, California, which is home to some of the most beautiful people in the world, right? And I've been in LA for a year and a half now, and I can say that, it's competitive out here. People are trying to get roles. People are acting. People are doing Broadway entertainment. So everybody's focused on staying in shape. If you don't watch out, you can come to a city like LA and you could develop an eating disorder. I'm not saying that when you come to California, you're going to get eating disorder, but I've seen how these things work, right? And I've had patients with eating disorders, and I'm like, how did they get here, right? And I'm not saying that social media caused it, but you're not helping yourself out if you're watching people who are perfect all the time. So just keep that in mind. Jay says, it's such a great thing to do. Any negativity in your feed, block that shit. Straight up, I agree. Realistically, those women also prepare for shoots, may drop water weight like boxers in UFC. Right. So DreamLab, thank you for saying this. So when you look online and you see a woman who is like in the best shape of her life, you don't know what she's having to do to look like that, right? So we cannot compare ourselves to those types of people, right? Now, we're happy for them, but we can't compare ourselves to them. Tyler, I don't live in Nashville, but I grew up in Nashville, so that's why I'm a big Titans fan. Kristen, I appreciate you. And Catherine says, I spent years in a typical, you're not good enough, you need to change, blah, 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 by yourself. And I spent 10 years alone, working on loving myself as I am, now happily married, but still struggle with self-deprecating from time to time. So, Catherine, first of all, let me give you a love of the show for sharing, and I'll tell you why. I'm happy that you shared, because people think that when you get married, all your issues go away. Getting married doesn't change anything about yourself. Now you're doing life with a partner, but it doesn't change like who you are and how you feel about yourself. So you still have to do the work. But this is how it works, Catherine. Like you'll get married and yeah, you'll work on yourself, but there's gonna be some days where you look in the mirror and you're like, I just don't feel like it. Or the self-deprecating may start to creep up here, every now and then. And I'm not a fan of self-deprecating at all, right? If you're a stand-up comedian, okay, but to be self-deprecating yourself throughout life, I'm not a big fan of that, because words matter. And before you know it, you start to believe all the negative things that you think about yourself. I need to learn about. Hey, Kristen, I need to learn about Discord too. Like I'm feeling like I'm old. I gotta learn how Discord works. All right, the third thing that I want every woman to know when it comes to mental health is relationships do not define you, and they never have, right? It's funny that the lady who I gave the love of the show to, she was talking about, she got married, but she still struggles with self-deprecation from time to time. So from what I've observed with social media and just, with the state of the way things are in the world, a lot of times, now this is not for every woman, right? You can get into trouble when you generalize. So hear me out, right? But for a lot of the women that have either been my patients or women that I've seen in life, just living life, right? A lot of times you may feel as if a relationship is there to define you, right? Or if you're single, you feel a little bit worse about yourself because you're single, right? And this is worse if you're looking on social media and people are getting married, people are getting engaged, and you might be the only single person out of your friend group, and it becomes awkward when y'all go out to eat because everybody has their person, and like you just have your hand out, and you're like, all right, I don't have anybody. And sometimes you think about, all right, I need anybody now. So your standards start to get lower and lower and lower and lower because you just want a person, right? So the thing is, relationships do not define you, but the last part is very important. They never have, right? So if you see somebody and they're in a relationship and it's a healthy one, and you say, oh, I aspire to be like that person, just understand that, okay, that person is setting an example of how a relationship should be. And we are happy for that person. But the fact that you're not in one doesn't make you any less of a person. Because if the sooner you start to understand this, the easier things become. Because if you do not understand this, you'll have a hard time being by yourself, right? And there may be a mental health reason behind this, like maybe a fear of abandonment or, fear of, or you need external validation. I'm not sure what is going on, but just understanding that a relationship is not necessary for you to feel better by yourself. It puts you in a position to where you can advocate for yourself. Like it's not all about, and I like what Allison is saying right here. I also think there's too much emphasis on romantic relationships. If you can't hold a steady friendship, why you think a perfect partner is going to follow the sky? So, Allison, I completely agree with this, right? And I don't know if it's because we turn on the TV and we're watching Lifetime and there's all these movies about love and the Christmas movie and the Thanksgiving, like I don't know if Hollywood loves to romanticize the idea of love, right? But like real love is like arguments every now and then, like, trying to get the bills paid, fighting about things that have happened in the past, trying to get comfortable with somebody. Real love is not as easy as it looks online, right? So we have to understand that these things take time. And sometimes, at least for me, I say the best time to work on yourself is when you're single. You don't have anybody else to be accountable to. You can be as selfish as you want, but it's hard to sit there and be selfish and enjoy the time that you're by yourself if you feel like a relationship is necessary to make you be a certain type of person, right? So with or without a relationship, you're still worthy of love, attention, and respect. So that's very, very important. Even for guys, like we still need to hear that. But I just felt like I really needed to drive that point home because the type of propaganda that's pushed to women, like I'm talking by the time you're 12, 13, 14, the teenage girls, by the time you're 21, 22, that's why you feel like you have to be in a relationship because you turn on the TV and that's all you're seeing, right? So I think it's very important to say that. Catherine, anytime, no worries. And Holly says, I'm so thankful that even though I'm the only single one in our friend group, they never make me feel any less than them. So Harley, what you have here, you have good friends, and I'm happy that you have good friends. So I'll give you a love of the show for that. And I like Tyler's comment here. You gotta be friends before you can be anything else. You do have to have some level of friendship in the relationship because it makes it easier to respect the person. Sometimes you forget that, yeah, that might be your girlfriend or whatever, or that could be your partner, but you still have to respect the person and treat them like a friend. All right. Now the fourth thing that I think every woman needs to hear for her mental health. This is very, very important. I've learned about this in California. But and Kendra, thank you for summarizing the first three. Right, you don't have to change yourself to be accepted. Number one, number two, not everything on social media is for you, and that's okay. Number three, relationships don't define you, and they never have. And then number four, right, the relationship between you and your body is important. Be kind to yourself, right? This is so important because like I'll watch these videos online where there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I don't like how the way my body looks right now. That's fine, and you can work towards, improving. But you do have to understand that, look, if you're 15 pounds heavier now than you were before the pandemic, you're not any less of a person, right? And where I'm trying to get you all to break is that relationship between the way I look and my weight versus my self-esteem, right? Is a very dangerous thing, because if sometimes you feel like your self-esteem is tied to your appearance. And of course, like, we have to look good and we have to like do our best to, be confident in who we are, right? But if you fundamentally do not like how you look as a person, you're going to struggle to be kind to yourself, right? And then that's going to turn into low self-esteem, and then you make it easier for people to walk all over you, and not that people are evil, but people are looking for people that they can. It's easy to have people around when you can just kind of control them, right? But when somebody stands up for themselves and they enforce boundaries, it takes a little bit more effort to be with that person, because if you do something and you cross their boundary, they're going to leave. They're going to be gone, right? So understanding that, hey, I might not be where I want to be body wise, right? But I still have to be kind to myself, and it doesn't make me any less of a person. And sometimes that confidence will be what you need to just go through life and be more decisive and get things done. All right. I'm kind to my body, but it still won't let me out on these cute shorts. Wait, hey, January, there's nothing wrong with having a goal and saying, hey, I want to, get into these shorts by January 10th, right? Your name is January. So that's why I thought of real quick. There's nothing wrong with having a goal. But if you want to lose 10 pounds, until you lose those 10 pounds, are you going to wait until you drop the weight before you feel good about yourself? What if you never drop the weight? Well, what if it takes a long time? If it takes you 3 months to do that, are you going to spend those 3 months feeling bad by yourself because you haven't gotten there? So in the interim between, where you are now and your goals, like, I need you to not say, those self-deprecating statements that make you feel a little worse about yourself. Marissa saying, my husband and I are constantly using the phrase, I will always love you, but right now I don't like you. Ooh, ooh. Oh, I like this. This is, I love the show, just reading it halfway through. My husband and I are constantly using the phrase, I will always love you, but right now I don't like you. We found one of the biggest things we struggle with in the beginning that we're doing better with is being able to be honest about us being upset with the other. This deserves a double love of the show, and I'll tell y'all why. This is so important because, I've been in relationships where I had a hard time telling the truth, to the other person. So it's important to create that environment where you can tell the truth, right? And being able to speak openly like this right here is going to get you all through a lot of arguments and tough times. This right here, like this is it's almost like you went to therapy and you brought this back as an assignment. This is really cool. I like that. Really cool. Yeah, that's the love of the show. All right. And yes, I can't get to everything, but I do appreciate everybody who is commenting. I posted some stuff above. No comment. Thank you for you have to care about. Yeah, you gotta care about you first. I see you're a Cowboys fan. Big win yesterday over the Rams, so I know you're in a good mood. I'm definitely in a good mood over my Titans. All right. Now, the last thing that I would like for every woman here for her mental health, let me drop it here in the chat. Hey, Nashville, hey, my Tennessee people. I got special love for my Tennessee people. All right, so the last thing that I want every woman to hear for her mental health is your health concerns matter and you should be heard. This is very important. And like I said, I didn't rank these in terms of importance, but this is very important to understand, right? We talk about, like, let's say ADHD in women, right? Or even bipolar disorder. Like, a lot of these mental health conditions, you have to understand that depending on who you are and who you're going to for help, you may have to wait years and years and years and years for a correct diagnosis, right? And until you have the right diagnosis, you're not going to get the right treatment. So if you have ADHD and somebody said that you have bipolar disorder, and they put you on mood stabilizers, you still might struggle, like, with focus and things like that, because you didn't get the right help because you were misdiagnosed, right? So like Kristen is saying, being your own advocate is huge. Your health concerns matter. If you go to a doctor and you're saying, hey, I feel like I've been struggling with this or that, and then the doctor says, oh, I think it's just you just need to like relax. Like, if like, what it feels like when somebody's not listening to you. When somebody's not listening to you, that should be a deal breaker for the type of doctor or provider that I want to reach out and talk to. You have to be your own biggest advocate, and that's why these things are so important, right? And Harley's saying 29 years to get the proper treatment and diagnosis from ADHD was a battle. Right. You have to be your biggest advocate, because the way the system is, we don't live in the perfect world, right? The system is hard. To get diagnosis in this country is a privilege. It should be a human right to access healthcare, but because of barriers are in place, if you don't know how to advocate for yourself, you will go to one doctor and they will brush you off, and you might get discouraged. You wait a couple of years, and in between then, all that's missed potential. You're gonna get down on yourself and say, "Oh wow!" Like, when you finally get the help, you will realize why it was so important to have gotten the help. If that makes sense, So it's very important to be the biggest advocate for yourself. Understand yourself well. You don't have to know the difference between ADHD and this, or the difference between depression and anxiety. You just have to know how to articulate your thoughts and concerns. So if you're saying something and you're talking to a person and they're saying, I just don't think there's an issue, go ahead and, get your belongings and be nice and finish the appointment. But in your head, that, all right, like, we may never come back here again. We may never, ever, ever come back here again, because you don't go to a doctor to make them rich. You go to a doctor to get help, right? So if you go to a provider and you're not getting help, then you're wasting your time, right? So I think that's very important for me to mention. Ellen says, our family therapist encourage us to use "and I love you," especially after someone is self-deprecating. So me, I'm so fat, I hate my body, my partner, and oh, that definitely deserves the love of the show. I really like that. It's important because even if it's somebody who somebody who you love and you've been around them for a while, you have to understand that sometimes on our worst days, we might forget that our partner loves us, that our parents love us, that our kids love us, right? So hearing the phrase "and I love you," like those things are very important. Very, very important. Love of the show. Love of the show. And Mary says, facts. Tired of doctors who don't care. They listen to your words, but they don't hear you, right? And Mary, like, I'm not here to like talk down on doctors. Like, all of my colleagues in healthcare, at least the ones I know, I can say that we're doing our best to help people out. But there is a system which can kind of complicate things, but still, at a minimum, that person should be hearing you out. And and you could go see one of my friends. You could go talk to the top psychiatrist in Virginia. You can go to my best friend and be their patient. But if that person doesn't listen to you and hear your concerns, I'm going to tell you to leave, even if it's my best friend, because you're going to be wasting your time. Every second that you're talking to somebody who doesn't want to listen to you, you're wasting your time. You could be talking to somebody who actually wants to help you out, and they're prepared to help you out. And the more you focus on that, you'll put yourself in a better position to help out other people, right? So it's very, very, very important. Mental health is backed up in Alaska. Yeah, Shelly, it's like that in a lot of places, right? So when you finally find somebody and it's not working out, it can be extremely frustrating, right? And Linnea, that's a dope name. I would say that applies to anything health-wise, mental, physical. I've been in some bad situations from not advocating for myself. Completely lesson learned. Thank you for this. Anytime, and you have to understand that it's important. And I feel like, I'm not sure where it's coming from. I don't think it's a lady thing or a male thing, but sometimes when you get in front of a doctor and it's time to talk about what's going on, you may freeze up, whether it's the right code or whatever. But it's so important to advocate for yourself, because only you can speak up for yourself. Like, you should be your biggest cheerleader, right? So once you know what's going on, if somebody tells you that that's not going on, like, there's legit medical gaslighting. You go in and say, hey, I feel like I can't focus. I'm overwhelmed. I'm struggling. You can talk to somebody and they can say, oh, that's normal. Everybody, since the pandemic, has been struggling with that. But then you say, okay, all right, cool. You're hell bent on not listening to me. I gotta go to somebody else. If somebody came to me and they wanted a second opinion, and they wanted to go talk to somebody else, I would say, hey, like that's your right. Like I don't know everything. I just do the best that I can, you know. And Jennifer saying, my concern is losing my job if they found out I went to a psychiatrist. However, I know I need to talk to someone. All right, so Jennifer, I'm a little curious now. Like, what type of job do you work, or where do you work at? Because that's private information. You know, I highly doubt that your doctor is like, you know, in cahoots with your job and like giving them information. But like, I want to know like what job you work. If somebody sees what job she works, can y'all like pin that or something like that? You know, because now I'm curious. I just want to know what type of job you're working. Yeah, being your own cheerleader is crucial. You are capable. You know, you have to be vocal and say, hey, this is affecting me. Like if you've been up for days and you can't sleep, like that's going to affect how you think. It's going to affect like everything. That needs to be addressed like the sooner the better, right? You know, yeah, and yeah, that's why I want to know what type of job you work. Now, if it's military, it's a bit different. You know, like military and mental health, I need to educate myself a bit more on that. But it's a bit different. But like if you work like a civilian job, like I'm just curious to see what type of job you work. Hey, somebody from LinkedIn. Women need to feel validated, appreciated, and acknowledged at a minimum by the ones. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Susie, yeah, at a minimum, you're completely right. She said education. She works an education job. So if you work an education job, they shouldn't be telling, yeah, like, yeah, your doctor shouldn't, like that information, like when you go talk to a doctor, that information stays between you and that person. It shouldn't be disclosed. It shouldn't be disclosed, right? I'm an educator. And look, Jennifer, like being an educator, like any type of job that requires you to be like all over the place, you can easily be overwhelmed, right? As a teacher, you're taking care of this, right? You know, so like I hope we can find, you know, help, you know, in the most linear fashion. But once again, like Chrissy's saying, I don't know about education all the way, so I can't come out here and tell people because I don't understand that world all the way. But all I know is that if you talk to somebody and you get, mental health help, that information shouldn't be. Yeah, like we're not allowed to tell anybody about anything that happens. Like there's HIPAA and there's things to protect people, you know. So I don't know how they would get that information. I'm retired Army and ADHD. I don't understand the second part of that statement. All right, so this is a good time because if we keep this to 30 minutes, I can do the one for the men, but it's a good time to drop the magic word in there so we can do the water break while I answer this question real quick. Do you have any advice for people who don't want medication, don't have access to medication in regards to states of mania or depression? All right, so Emily, here's what I'll say. So the way you phrase the question, it looks like we're talking about some type of mood disorder, like a bipolar disorder, right? So here's the thing. I know people with bipolar disorder who don't take medication and, you know, they're managing. If you don't want medication, so there's a big difference between not wanting medication and not having access. If you don't want medication and your doctor is like, all right, you know, like I think you'll be fine without it, then follow your doctor's advice, you know, but maybe they may say it would be good for you to be on meds. Listen to them. But if they say you can go without meds and that's what you want to do, sure, go ahead and do that. Now, if you don't have access to meds, but you need it, then I would say take the most linear path you can take to find professional help, right? So if it's mania and or depression, both of those, you know, there are situations where both of those require medications. And, you know, especially mania, if it's a full-blown manic episode, a lot of times that requires medication, right? So I would say take the most linear path. If you feel like you're at a point where you may hurt yourself or somebody else or, you know, destroy property, seek, you know, ER help as soon as possible. But if you don't have access to meds and you don't want it, then that's a different situation, right? Really, really good question. And Nicole, we're going to have more lives where we talk about weed and mental health because right now, there's no way to prescribe it, and we still need to do more research on marijuana, right? Because it's not harmless. There are some risks that come with it, but I don't think that people should be locked up for it. And I think that if we research it more, we could have potential therapeutic benefits of it. But we'll have more lives about it. Maggie, very sorry to hear this. Very sorry to hear this. All right. And hey, there we go. Cheers. So the magic word. It gives us a chance to get some water in, because or else we might forget. But I've been staying hydrated today, so I've been peeing a lot. But let's go ahead. Time for the water break. And the magic word is cheers. So cheers, y'all. Emily says bipolar depression due to untreated ADHD. All right, so once again, Emily, real quick, this can happen. Like, there's people who have both, and when you don't treat, like, people don't realize that, like, untreated ADHD, not to scare y'all, but it can lead to car accidents, financial losses, risk of suicide goes up. Like, there's a lot that can come from it. It's more easier. That's not even a word. It's easier to be depressed. Why did I say more easier? Right, but untreated ADHD is it's not something that, like, we should just brush off. Like, I do think if you can get your ADHD treated, or if everybody who potentially wanted an assessment got the help, then I think that would be a huge game changer. Like, for real. Verity says they're new here. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Wendy, no problem. And it's when you speak out over and over and nobody hears you is actually very frustrating. So I see where you're coming from. And Leilani, no worries. It's all good. Your son has caught 5 fish. That's what's up. And Courtney says, I would love to be a part of that live chat. I found medical marijuana has been winner. So Courtney, we will have that conversation again. And I'll figure out ways for us to bring on people to we really need to have this conversation, whether it's medical marijuana or whatever. It's a conversation that we really need to have, because I think the current narrative is that marijuana is harmless. It can help anybody out. It's not exactly harmless, right? But I've had too many patients tell me that they like marijuana more than what I prescribe them, right? So there's something that can be helpful with cannabis that we're not acknowledging. So hopefully we just have to have more research, because the amount of studies that we've done on Prozac is right here, and the amount of studies that we've done on marijuana is right here. So if we don't know how to quantify it, we don't have a place medically for it, if that makes sense. But I definitely acknowledge the fact that you said it's been very helpful for you. All right. Right, exactly. Medical night can be dangerous. That's why I tell people, only take what you get from your doctor. But for people who say that, cannabis helps them out, I completely agree that there's something that is therapeutic that we're probably not, studying well enough. Thank you, Coach. I recently got back with meds also for bipolar. And recently I'm considering to stop, but thanks for reminding us again and again. Right. And I think people think that. So, Kate, let me first go ahead and give you a love of the show for getting back on meds. Like Kendra said earlier, asking for help can be very difficult. So give yourself credit for doing that, right? And in terms of stopping, like, I don't know, maybe it's because people see like Dr. Kojo and they think that I'm automatically going to tell them to stop whatever. If somebody's an alcoholic, my first thing is not stop the alcohol. If you're addicted to whatever, it's not stop that thing. Obviously, if something can kill you, like, we want you off of it. But I'm more so interested in figuring out, like, why are you doing this every single day? What's the reason behind it? Instead of saying, oh, that person is doing cocaine or whatever. Like, you don't do that. You figure out, why are they using this thing? And if you could figure out something that they could do instead of that, then, you hit the jackpot, right? So I wish you took ADHD more seriously. Yeah, L, they should take ADHD way more seriously. I think that's one thing we've learned in the past 2 years or so, doing the advocacy work and all that. Like, it should be taken more seriously. All right. Okay. So let me go ahead and all right. So we're 35 minutes. So I've been drinking a lot of water. I gotta go pee. I'm gonna get the dog out real quick, and I'm gonna come right back, and we're gonna do 5 things every man needs to hear for his mental health. I think that's very important. And I want to do it like back to back, so I don't forget, because I want to get that one off too. So we're gonna do that one. If you don't get a chance to have your question answered, come back in like 10 minutes, and I'll answer your question. So I will see you all. Shortly. Let me read this real quick. Someone says, I have severe agoraphobia, anxiety, and depression. Also, bulimia my whole life. Currently about to start my ADHD and working on childhood abuse. I'm on Prozac and I smoke cannabis. I find that helps a lot. So, Verity, I agree with you. Or I agree that you could be onto something, right? So we have to figure out what's therapeutic about it. And it's tough because like the way we put something out there is you have studies, randomized control trial, meta-analysis, and like you do things over and over and over. And then once you have a body of evidence that shows that this thing is helpful, then we say, okay, Prozac helps with anxiety and depression. All right, this works. So we know to start somebody off at 10 milligrams or 20 milligrams or whatever. We don't know that for cannabis yet, but I hope we do get to that point though. I hope we do get to that point. I'm happy I saw that. All right, so let me go pee real quick. 10-minute break, and then we'll be back for the second part. It will be another bonus show, 5 things that every man needs to hear for his mental health. All right, so until next time, which is 10 minutes from now. See y'all soon.